everybody. Welcome to Podcasts and Players. This is a special episode, as it is every time. But this week is very special because we have a very special guest, someone who is I'm working with right now, along with many other D&D YouTubers, to promote something called Bards4Bards, a charity event that we will get more into in just a moment. She's also a YouTuber herself from a channel called Wystle while you work. She plays in the group Scales Above on Role4Damage on Twitch and has her own Twitch as well. Please give it up for Shelby from Wystle while you work. Woohoo!
Hello.
How are you doing today, Shelby?
Pretty good. How are you?
Still waking up, but doing just as well as as any other day, I suppose. I got like my French press here. We got cameras on. No one else is seeing this, but you'll see this. I got a nice big thing of coffee. I'm just waiting, steeping. I'm really excited for it.
I have a giant jug of coffee I made yesterday in my fridge.
If you need to make a coffee run, I more than understand. You just let me know.
Yeah. Well, I just had a cup, so I should be okay. But if I need another, I'll let you know. Fair enough. So, Shelby, I've got a number of questions for you. Yeah.
First, this is a question on everyone's mind. Where did Wystle while you work? Where did that name come from?
It's a really funny story. Sort of, kind of. I wanted to rebrand. I had an old channel that I'm not going to mention here because it's long and dead and I want it to stay dead. I had an old channel where I was in a not the nicest of communities. It was pretty toxic and I wanted to completely get away from it. And so I started going as Wisteria when I remade all of my socials. And somehow that got shortened into Wys. And at one point I wrote Wystle and I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. And I love Disney movies, so Wystle while you work. And just kind of happened.
Kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's neat. I like the vibe of it. I like the for people who don't know, Wystle while you work, a lot of it is like speed paints and telling D&D stories over them. Yeah. What got you into the idea of doing that specifically?
It was a combination of a couple of the bigger D&D YouTubers. I love Dingo, and I love the story of Full Skull. Absolutely. And she's just a magnificent human being. I love the story of Full Skull, and I loved this idea of telling my D&D stories. It was part of my first pieces of D&D media. Critical Role was also a big inspiration because I loved this idea of just having a story live, but I wasn't sure I wanted to commit to like a live game. And then I saw ABD Illustrates and how he tells his told stories from High Hopes. I think it was the speed paint where he did the giant poster for High Hopes Low Rolls.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, I can do this. And this is totally a thing I can do, because I was making speed paints anyway. And I had like some footage of some spells. I drew Shield, Mage Armor, and Magic Missile. And I was originally just going to upload it and talk about the process because I was practicing, magic effects. And then I had a not great experience in my current D&D group. We had a power gamer that was pretty obnoxious. And originally I was just going to type it up and put it on Reddit. And I was like, actually, let's try and voice this. You haven't done any like voice work in a while on YouTube. And I thought, why not? And then like 2 months later, that video had 100,000 views. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this now.
Do you work at like a regular job while also doing YouTube, or have you kind of transitioned over?
I'm a freelance artist. I did a lot of commissioned work, just like on Twitter, mainly. I've said this on stream, so I'm not ashamed to say it here. I also used to do for Affinity commissions. So that's
where the money's at. Don't be ashamed.
That's not even a joke. Say what you want about furries. They take care of their artists.
They do. They absolutely do.
It was and right now I mostly make my income from my YouTube channel and commissioned work on the side. I'm now working in D&D books, like illustrating books.
Ooh,
mostly
cool.
On concept stuff. But yeah, it's been pretty cool. It's made me realize that this is the field I want to be in. I've always wanted to work in games. I've always had like a love of video games specifically. I wanted to work in concept. And that just never really got anywhere. I just never really got the chance to go to school for it. And this was kind of my next best option. And I love it. It's really fun. I've worked on one book so far. I was one of the illustrators on the, it's not the Pilgrims of Rome. It's the same people who made Pilgrims of Rome, same person who wrote it. It was The Twilight Dream.
The Twilight Dream. Where can people find that?
I think the Kickstarter is still up if you're interested in looking at it. It is a really cool, kind of modern high school setting for D&D. It's really interesting.
Ooh, that is interesting. That's like any type of way of like spinning D&D to be not just the traditional fantasy. I'm like all for, because I love it, but I've played so much D&D in the past like 5 or 6 years that I'm like, anything to freshen it up is just like, please. But so you've been working on the channel for how long now? Like, would you say? I
think, well, since I started getting a bit more serious with it, it's been about a year. A really crazy year, because it started, I think I uploaded my first D&D centered video in November of 2019, and it really started gaining traction that following January. And then that April, I ran Bards4Bards, the first iteration, and that got me a lot of attention. And it just kept going from there. I put up a video about Adventures League that got a lot of people coming. And so it's been about a year.
I remember, I think your first few viral ones, I think that's how I discovered you, because I was looking, I'll just go through and like D&D animated story or something like that, and I'll just like look for people I don't recognize, and I think that's how I found you at one point. That or Joe Cat, you and Joe Cat were already doing stuff together, and maybe he shared something on Twitter. I'm not sure which one happened first, but I remember the first Bards4Bards. Yeah, tell us about that, because you guys have been associated for a while.
Joe, okay, it started off with him following me on Twitter. And then I realized he followed me on Twitter and had a mini freak out about it because I really loved the crap guides. And it started, I messaged him, just like I felt bold one day, and I messaged him because I wanted to transition to more animations. I used to animate when I was in high school. I'm very out of practice and I don't have a lot of, I'm not very skillful in it yet, but I wanted to, ask. I wanted to ask some people for advice. I did the same thing when I got to talk to Puffin Forest for the first time. I asked him how he went through his his process. And Joe, he sent me like a long playlist of like, here's the basics. If you have any questions, ask me, just because Joe's a lovely human being. And the second time was him DMing me saying sorry for a fan of his on Twitter that had said something not that nice on one of my tweets. So,
whoa.
Yeah, it was like, I was like, no, you're fine. You're totally fine. And at some point we exchanged Discords and Bards4Bards happened. And I was like, why don't I give it a shot? And he was like, yeah, sure. Just let me fix your audio, because your last stream, I could barely hear you. So.
Joe's great.
He's fantastic.
So I think you've told me this, and you might have said it on a stream before, but for everyone listening who might not know, what was like the impetus for Bards4Bards? How did that get started?
My sister, actually. She's a huge theater kid. I've done a little bit of work in theater. I did some makeup for a couple of productions. But she's a stage manager, and she loves working in theater. And when COVID hit, our local theater got shut down. And Broadway, for the first time in its like history, got shut down, and a lot of performers were struggling. And with my sister being a theater kid, a lot of her friends who were performers found themselves not knowing what they were going to do. And I told her I wanted to do a charity drive anyway that supported people affected by COVID-19 when it all happened. And so we were like, let's do something for performers. We did some digging. We found a name. We found the artist relief tree. And it all came together.
Kind of snowballed from there, right?
Yeah. And we thought it would be cute to have a little art challenge to draw bards. And when Joe got on, we're like, hey, we both can draw. Let's draw bards together on a stream. And that ended up being like, I think, an 8 or 9 hour stream of drawing bards and talking with the chat. And Dingo joined us at one point, and my audience will never let me live that moment down.
Yeah, wasn't that one of the highlights from
yes,
on your channel? I remember watching that, like, this is really cute.
Yes, well, because that was my first time ever meeting her, and Joe didn't tell us he was bringing her on. And I had said earlier in that stream that Dingo was a big inspiration for my channel, and I loved her work, and I was too scared to approach her. So Joe just, like, I guess, decided, hey, let's just do this. And what didn't show in the highlights is the fact that when that happened, I not only knocked over my chair, I knocked over our mic and nearly knocked the monitor over because I was so freaked out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's as genuine as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when she reached out to me for the first time on Twitter, like, recognizing me as a D&D, like, animator.
Oh.
And it was like the heavens parted, and she descended. She's like, join us. I was like, oh, it's like the coolest moment.
It's like, what the fuck? I still can't believe I'm talking to half the people that I've had conversations with.
Yeah, this time last year, I knew, like, nobody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was like, wait, yeah, it's April. Okay, so I had just started the podcast. I'm 3 episodes in. I just met, like, 3 smaller YouTubers, and 2 of them are, like, some of my best friends now. It's the weirdest thing how,
it's
like,
so weird.
quick that happened.
It's so weird. Like, this is slightly deviating from Dingo, but the Cammy Cat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have been listening to Cammy for years, for literal years, and now I think she's my friend. I think we're friends.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well,
maybe I'm overstepping my bounds here,
well,
but
it's like where do you call people friends? It's like when you've had conversations with them. Are you friends? We've played D&D together, so I think we're friends. Like it's very surreal, and it's like 2 years ago I was watching Fool's Gold, and I'm playing in a Fool's Gold one shot in like 2 weeks.
How crazy is that? You're gonna play with Sips.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you already did play with Sips, but still.
But, like, I'm playing with Sips in his natural habitat.
Yeah, now you have Sips DM.
Yeah, with Felix. I'm
so
like,
that's,
what the fuck? Where did this come from? How did this happen?
When I remember, because, so for people who don't know, like, we all kind of, basically, this is how I understood it happening was, you guys wanted to see if you could get some more people, and you asked if Dingo wanted to bring some people over or something like that. It's just like,
and then
sure,
Dingo brought a fucking army.
She goes to, like, all of us animators. She's like, hey, everybody, let's go help the Bards4Bards follow this link. And so we're like, sure, Dingo says it's cool, so it's cool. And it was like 15 people, and it just overwhelmed
that server
Shelby
jumped
and
from
Connor.
4 people, like 4 participants, to 28 participants.
My friend Vitamin Dieter, who's also involved, like, he almost didn't join because he's like, well, I'm not really a musician. I'm like, join. It's not about that. Just get in on this, dude. It's gonna be so fun, and you're gonna be helping a good cause. Like, don't not do it. I was like, I will drag you into this, kicking and screaming if I have to.
It genuinely, like, it made me and Connor, like, we were looking at how many, we're like, oh my god, and we were so, like, it was overwhelming, yes, but we were also so excited because we're like, so many, all of these people were like, are interested enough in this dopey little charity project and are willing to take time out of their schedules to help with it, and that just meant a lot to me and Connor.
Yeah, I'm having a blast so far. Like, we barely even got started, and like I was thinking about it yesterday actually. So for everyone who obviously doesn't know, I invited Shelby literally yesterday to come on the podcast. So like we're just sort of going off the cuff here, but I was like thinking about like who should I have for the podcast? Well, we got Bards4Bards this month, so there's kind of like a lot going on. I don't know who would be right for it. I'm like, how about the person who like started Bards4Bards? Like that'd be a good person to interview. Then we could promote and all that. But it really is going to be like a jam-packed thing of like one-shots, art streams. There's an art stream. I don't know when this is coming up, but on the 7th. Tomorrow. Yeah, on the 7th, there's going to be one where Jess is leading it, and it's like
drawing D&D monsters from memory. It's going to be so fun.
I'm very excited.
We've got
for
like
that.
a lot of really cool people in this one too. The calendar's up, so I think we're allowed to. I'm pretty sure we're allowed to say it. But
Okay,
we have.
where can people find the calendar in case they want to check up on it?
I know it's in Joe's video right now. I don't think we've officially posted it yet. We gave him the asset so he could finish his announcement.
Everybody storm Joe Cat's channel, find the video, pause it, and then
that video's
screen
on
cap, save
trending
it to
right
your
now.
computer.
That video was
Is it
29th
really?
on trending. Yes.
He could sneeze and it would go on trending. That guy is so gifted.
Mm-hmm. Oh god, when fucking his Crap Guide to Dungeon Mastering came out and we saw how big that got.
My God,
And the fact didn't, I don't know where if I missed a memo or what, but he didn't tell any of us that fucking Matt Mercer was going to be in that bitch.
I remember the tweet because he was like, hey, can anybody get me in contact with Matt Mercer? And I was like, I know what this is for. I know what he's doing here.
I must have missed that because I watched the video. I knew the script. I watched the video.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was watching it with my friends, like, oh my god, this is out, we should watch this. And we saw the cameo and all collectively lost our minds because we didn't know that was gonna happen.
And it was just this like nothing part, like shut up, Matt Mercer, and him just going, "Aw, that's it." Such a quick little thing.
But it was great. It was great.
I'm
it was so fun.
I'm making a video right now. It's a D&D like animator tier list.
Mm-hmm.
In response to Blaine Simple came out with one that was like just a creator list, but it was like very short. I think he just wanted to move on to like another project after it, so it was like it wasn't super comprehensive. And I was like, there's so many people out there. I'm gonna make like just an animator list. So I started like categorizing everybody, right? And when I got to Joe Cat, I'm like, there's no way I can talk about Joe Cat without talking about how the first time I ever talked to him, like I met him in like a group Discord call, and before he's like, I gotta get going. Oh, before I go, Shane, do you want to be part of this this project that I'm doing, just like as a cameo? And I almost cried. I was like choking it up. I was like, yes. And
now,
I was
what's funny is when Joe sent me that script, you know, the mega script, right? He sent me that mega script, and he was like, you know, I don't have everybody's parts written out yet, but you can improv something. And I'm like, wait, were we in a club? Did we plan this? And what we figured out was either he told me and I absolutely forgot, or he forgot to tell me and just sent me a script. And, you know, either way, it was absolutely fine. He's a busy person. I'm a busy person. It's, you know, whatever happened. But I remember seeing that script. It was really early, or it was either really early in the morning or really late at night. And I was like, wait, what?
There's so many people on here.
I'm doing a what now? And there's a lot of people on here that I have a lot of respect for. What business do I have being a part of this?
Yeah. I mean, I'm the one that needs to say that because I think I had the smallest subscriber count of anybody on that list. And I was like, there's no way my little dinky part's going to mean anything. I got like 500 subscribers from that video. I was like, all I said was I had like a music for a situation. I played a Zune, which I do own, by the way. I have like 2 Zunes. And I was like, what? How did anyone think that this was worth subscribing for? But like, just that was enough. Like, yeah. I can't thank him enough for just thinking to include me. It was such a cool gesture.
It was very sweet, and it was honestly, this is what I love about the D&D community in general, is that this is one of, after coming out of such a divisive and I would say even hateful community at times, the fact that like the D&D community is so open and kind and sweet. Like my comment sections are always filled with positivity. There's like, the creators are so fucking nice, and just I don't know, it genuinely has brought me to tears before, just how nice this community is and how open and inclusive this community is. And it's like your number really doesn't matter. Like, all of these creators are just friends, and it's really cool to see just all of these people coming together.
I think also because we kind of understand deep down, like, this isn't really a contest. Like, the more D&D content there is, the better for everybody. Like the rising tide raises all ships sort of situation. Like if anyone's making D&D content, it's never like, I gotta be better. It's always like, yeah, go for it. Woo, support you. It's never a bad thing.
Well, and I think because D&D in itself, there is never going to be two D&D channels unless one is blatantly copying the other that are going to be the same. And because D&D itself is entirely your imagination with some rules. So I don't know. D&D just as a concept is building these stories and being creative and group efforts and just letting the dice make decisions. And it's never going to be, you're never going to have the exact same stories or experiences. Like I had an experience in Tomb of Annihilation when I first played it. I had an experience with the obelisk. Like the one Puffin Forrest talked about.
Yeah, I was like, I heard of this.
Yeah, I had an experience with the obelisk. I was killed by the obelisk, but I wasn't killed by the Nalfishnay in the obelisk. I was killed by the actual rock.
It fell on you?
Yes. I was playing a tiny little halfling, and I got squished.
Didn't you? Did he make you do a save or anything, or was it like
I failed my dexterity save to get out of the way, and this is kind of not the best practice. This was back in Adventures League. A lot of the players, when I came to join, were not happy with the idea of me being upped to level 9 like them, so they put me at level 5.
Ooh.
Yeah, not the best. There are a lot of reasons I left Adventures League. That was one of them. I didn't have enough HP to survive being squished by a giant rock.
Yeah. The something I've always kind of understood implicitly, like any fandom, any interest in any hobby, no matter what it is, you're going to have like toxic elements because
absolutely
there are toxic people everywhere. And so
some
of them are going to have interests that align with yours. Of course we're going to have
toxicity.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, and I feel like Adventures League brings out those people because you know, don't tell anyone, but toxic people have a tough time keeping a hold of a group, so they have to go to public places to play.
Exactly.
And I'm not, and obviously not everybody's like that.
No,
and like
I've heard like stories where Adventures League was great. Actually, like I think Puffin's a good example of like fun times he's had running D&D in Adventures League. I think it just depends on where you are, what people you run into. I think that it's a great tool for new players. Like I started playing because I didn't know how to play the game, and I think it's a really good way for a new player to learn and see if they like the game before they go drop, fucking hundreds of bucks on the core books and like hundreds of sets of dice. Because let's be honest, you buy one set, you don't stop.
You don't stop till your bank account drops.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, again, like there's always exceptions to everything. I think a lot of people are quick to like, with one experience in something, they'll just like broad brush the whole thing. And that's like unfortunate for them, because like, I get like following your gut's good, but also there's like sometimes something's so good you just got to give it a chance, even if your first experience wasn't great. D&D is one of those things where it's like, if you had a bad group starting out, anyone listening, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
Please try again.
It's all about the group, because like if you start with a bad group, that just means you played bad D&D.
Yeah. And
I know there's that argument of like, I don't like meatloaf. Well, you haven't tried my mom's meatloaf. Like, I get it. Like sometimes
they say no D&D is better than bad D&D, and that is correct. If you are in a bad game, leave that game. Don't waste your time on that game. If you are not enjoying yourself and talking to your DM or your players is not resolving that issue, leave. Find a better group that deserves you as a player. And that's, I think, one of the best things I did just in my love of D&D is not let that the situation in Adventures League not sour my entire view on D&D. I still wanted to play. I still wanted to try again. So
yeah, judging by your stories, you've played a lot of bad D&D.
Yeah, well, what's funny is that most of those experiences are from two DMs. just two DMs I stuck with because I didn't realize what good D&D is.
Well, yeah, it's sometimes tough to realize you have options.
Yeah, well, it's like, it was right after I was coming out of Adventures League, and I didn't, okay, I'm a total people pleaser, and I'm willing to put aside my own comfort for the rest of the group. And it wasn't until after that group fell apart, I'm still friends with most of the players. It wasn't until after that group fell apart, and we all really sat down and talked, that we realized just how bad that group was.
Yeah. You know, there's something to be said about a good group with one bad egg. And I get that. All right, so I'm going to share something that's sort of like, I'm not going to share the name of the person who shared this because they're still involved with it, and I don't want them to feel like I'm like outing them or anything. But they were sharing this sort of situation where they joined an online group. Everyone's getting along. It's great. One guy just not jiving with. And they were telling us about this. I'm like, well, maybe, if you're not jiving with him, maybe you just need to give him some time. Like, yeah, well, he made this like racist joke. We're like, hold up. Wait a minute. Not jiving with someone and making racist joke, not the same thing.
That's different. That's very different.
It's very different. And they're like, yeah, now that I said it out loud, it is kind of bad. And we're like, so we're talking about it, like what they should do. Like, how should you approach this? And I'm like, well, look. Because they were like, I should just leave. Maybe I should just leave. And I'm like, wait a minute, though. You really like this group. And the DM is good, too. But they're just kind of like green. They don't know how to deal with like the people problems yet, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, why don't you, if you think it's worth it, you don't have to do this. But if you do, you could try and talk to the problem player and just try to iron out these wrinkles. Be very straightforward about how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. It might be ugly, though. You don't have to do that. That's just an option.
Yeah, well, something I kind of encourage people to do just in general, because, this situation, that this is a little different because, racist jokes being involved.
Yeah,
but,
it's kind of hard to redeem that.
Yeah, but like just in general, a general advice, if you feel like you're getting annoyed with a certain player, or you feel like they're doing something that's kind of detrimental to the game or the group, talk to them, because for all you know, they don't realize they're doing it. And you got to give a person a chance to improve before you completely write them off. Give them a chance to correct themselves.
I'm a fervent believer of that as well. I think the thing is, like, we kept learning more and more about this character because our friend would like continue revealing more things that they have said, and like that they were like kind of squeamish around the fact that most of the people in the group were like LGBT plus. And like, I'm like, okay, like every time I think there's any glimmer of redeemable quality this guy might have, you like give us another detail that's like, oh,
that might be a player you need to vote out of the tribe.
That's what happened. That like as a roundabout way of getting there. Like that's what they ended up doing was they all together, the whole group went to the DM and said, look, DM, we know that you're trying to like keep the cohesiveness and everything, but we all don't like this guy. He's made all of us uncomfortable. He's kind of souring the experience. We're sorry that we have to put this on you, but you got to kick him out. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. I mean, it was ugly. It was a big mess. But when he finally left, it was like a weight was lifted. Everyone started to have fun again.
And it's never going to be a super easy situation. It's not, especially because I think this is just a theme with a lot of D&D people, is that we all tend to be awkward turtles. We don't like conflict. A lot of us are just like very soft, squishy people and don't want to make anybody upset.
Yeah, it's like nerds are like bad at being social or something. What's up with that?
Yeah, it's like this crazy thing. But like a lot of us, we just don't want to make people upset. And nobody wants to go up to somebody and be like, hey, you gotta go. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend who was kicked out of a group that I was in because they did a really bad faux pas where they like metagamed hard. Like they looked up the stats of a creature before a big boss battle, and they were telling everyone what to do to like defeat it. And that was on top of just like, again, not vibing well with everybody. But then they got kicked out, no warning, like you're just out. And he was like, I wanted to have a chance to like amend my behavior. But I'm like, you kind of already should have known that what you did wasn't a good thing. But
that's rule number 1. Players don't get access to the monster manual.
Yeah, I don't know. Even I was new, and I was like, what? Like, isn't that cheating?
Like unless you've like in game fought the thing before, or like your DM has ruled, like, say, oh, you're a blood hunter and you've specialized in hunting werewolves, so you know their weaknesses. Or you are a barbarian that has had a lot of experience fighting these kinds of beasts, like say, or well, I was about to say manticores, but they're a monstrosity, I'm pretty sure. So you might know that don't let the stinger get you or you'll be poisoned. Like shit like that. Like, you know, if you're just like looking up stats like, okay, how do we kill this thing? That's kind of, it's not great.
Yeah, I mean, this was a long time ago. I don't think that my friend is like that anymore. But it was just like, he always sort of like held it against that group. And that was like another group of friends. Like I invited him to them and they were like, I wouldn't like him. I was like, ugh.
Yeah. Well, that's just not the best situation either. Because you're like, I brought this person in here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry.
And like later on, they met again years later and talked about it, and it was fine. Like they kind of like ironed it out again. But
everything turned out okay.
I think at the end of the day, we have to realize everyone is a human being and everyone has feelings. And it's like if someone's a problem player, it's kicking them is like the last resort, but it's also sometimes the only thing you can do if they are not willing to understand why what they were doing was problematic or uncomfortable for everybody else. If they're not going to amend their behavior, if they're not even open or receptive, or if they did something so bad that like there's no, you know, you start telling racist jokes at the table, it's like there's no redeeming that. You don't get a second chance after that. You're just done.
That's just not fun. That's not cool. And like, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, people also need to remember that it's a game. Like, it's a very involved game and a very emotional game. Like, you get very into this game, but it is a game. And as, you know, as hard as it might be, try not to let these in-game experiences bleed out of game, because that's just not healthy.
On a brighter note, let's actually talk about in-game experiences. I want to know, so I'm not really like a stream watcher. I respect streams, but I just don't. I'm animating a lot of the time, so I just don't have time to watch them. They're
long. I get it.
They're long, yeah.
We don't all have like 4 hours a day to sit down and listen to a D&D podcast.
Right.
I get it.
And then when I'm streaming too, it's like, you know, like I can dish it out, I can't take it sort of situation. But I want to know more about the scales above. Like, can you share a story or a cool moment or something with our viewers?
So I guess before I start sharing, I want to give a brief overview. The Scales Above is a Rise of Tiamat adjacent campaign, where we are basically following behind the main storyline of the Rise of Tiamat. A lot of homebrew. Our DM Nova does such a good job. It is a genuinely intense D&D because of a bunch of our homebrew rules, like you do not fully regain hit points on a long rest. That's when you spend your hit die to heal. So our healing is a bit more realistic to when you get like actual injuries. We borrowed some stuff from Critical Role, like if you're trying to bring someone back from the dead, you have to convince the soul, and if you only have a certain amount of time before that soul begins to forget itself. It's very emotional, and our actions have consequences and very serious ones. We don't get into combat that often, but when we do, it's serious and limbs have been lost. So, do you want a happy story or do you want a more sad, intense story? The storyline right now is in a bit of a darker spot. The entire last season, like the last half of last season, like shit hit the fan hard. Could
you do the happy one and like get us endeared and then just absolutely destroy our hearts with the sad one afterwards? I can
totally do that. I can absolutely do that. Let me tell you about the Kitterbees. So, in this world, there is a place called the Crystal Forest, and this is where most elves live in the continent of Etredale. Mostly wood elves. Most people don't go into these woods because the elves kind of consider themselves at war with Etredale because Etredale is trying to encroach on their land and create and cut trade routes through their sacred forests, and they're not that happy about that. But it's a place that's very very Feywild like, as you'd expect in a place with a crap ton of elves. There's like these really pretty crystal flowers that when they bloom, they refract light in rainbows that paint the canopies. It's a gorgeous place. And in this place, there are these little things called kitterbees. They are half bee, half kitten. They fly, they purr, they make little buzzing sounds. They're so sweet. And Nia, the character I was playing last season, I'm playing 2 characters technically because Nia's on a vacation. She needs it. I'll get to that. Nia's the main character I play. Was not having a good time. Nia's been on a downward spiral for a while, but we had a bit of a lull, and we were just I was like at the front of the cart with Ulrich, who is our Dunamancy wizard. I'll paint the party real quick. We have Ulrich, our wizard, Sloane the barbarian, Saros the cleric, or cleric ranger. We have Leaf, who is our ranger rogue, and then there's me, who is our warlock sorcerer. And yes. Nia was at the front. This was right after I can't remember what event this was right after, but Nia wasn't okay. She was just, this was right after the party saw her turn into a giant dragon. That's what this was. That happened.
I can't wait to play with Nova already. I'm just like, this guy sounds like a blast.
Oh, don't get attached to your arms. He'll take them.
You're never going to let him live that down.
He has taken 2 of them so far. So Nia was not having a good time. She was kind of dealing with the fact the party just found out a very big secret of hers. One that she was really scared to tell because dragonkin are not trusted in this world. In fact, half dragons like Nia are killed on sight. So she was very scared to tell them. This was right after the person Nia was looking for. She was looking for her boyfriend, Aaron. And he had been kidnapped by the Cult of the Dragons. And this is where Kinora entered our story. Kinora was like controlling him. He had like this dark plate armor that was making him just a mindless killing machine, but he was fully conscious of what he was doing. He just couldn't stop it. It was really fucked up. And so she was talking with Ulrich. He was asking her if she was okay. And she was like, I don't know if I'm okay. And they had a really sweet kind of bonding moment where he was like, you know, my work is all about finding different timelines. But even I know that I have to stay in my own timeline. And sometimes you can't think about what if I'd done this or what if this had happened. You have to live in what's happening now. And while they're talking, they're seeing these little killer bees flying around. And one just kind of, you know how bees do that like lazy kind of sway as they fly over? One just kind of sways its way over, lands in Nia's lap, and takes a little cat nap. And it was such a perfect, sweet moment that we needed after such an intense scene. And Ulrich told her what they were. Said they were called kitterbees and that they were from his home in the Feywild. And it was just a really wholesome, sweet, and moment of relief that we needed because Scales gets really heavy. And so having those moments where things get a little silly or we get cute little cat bees is pretty nice. And this kitterbee ended up staying with Nia for a little bit. She didn't get to keep it, sadly, because of what I'm about to tell you.
All right, here it comes, everyone. Yeah. The hammer's about to drop.
But like, while we were traveling, it got really cold. So this kitterbee like dug itself into Nia's bag to keep warm and stayed there that night. She started calling it honey. It kind of just hung around with her. We entered an elven village and they were really skeptical of us until they saw the kitterbee like landing on Nia's shoulder and like slumping around like a cat. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. We won't shoot you. Didn't get to keep kitterbee. Didn't keep the kitterbee though, because like a session after this happened, we went to something called the Divination Pools. And that's when shit hit the fan, and it hit hard. Basically, the Pools of Divination is just this one big body of magical water that allows you to scry. You have to have 4 people to do it, but you can look at any moment in time with it. There's a caretaker.
Oh, there's a lot where that could go wrong already. I'm like, ugh.
Oh, yeah. No, there's a lot.
In game, I'd be like, I don't know if I want to do that. You guys go ahead. I'll just watch.
There's a lot that can go wrong. It is risky. You take levels of exhaustion for using it because it's such an intense magical artifact. But it's useful. And we were trying to use it. But right when we were lulling into our trance, we arrived, the caretaker came, and he was like, here, we'll show you how to use it. And Sloane, we let all the magic people do this. So Sloane, our barbarian, was like keeping guard. Mm-hmm. And we drink the water, we do the ritual, and as we're just about to see our visions, we hear the word fire. And I am hit with 3 crossbow bolts attached to chains that are then nailed into the ground with pythons. And it's my brother who comes out of they all were sitting there. They were invisible.
Oh, okay.
So a little backstory.
I was like, what happened to this barbarian? They're just like picking their ass, doing nothing. Like, what the fuck?
She didn't see him. She didn't see him.
Makes sense.
So what happened? So a little backstory on this is that Nia ran away from home. She ran away when she was about 15. And the reason why she's a half dragon is that she is what her family calls the keeper. They have been passing down an ancient silver dragon soul through their family for hundreds of years. And it was a dragon that blessed their family with this soul to protect their village. Nia was the next keeper. There's a few things that have happened in game that have thrown a few wrenches in Nia's role as a keeper. The biggest being that she forgot who her uncle, who was the last keeper, she forgot who he was. She got attacked by an elder Ublix and lost that memory.
Oh, okay.
So she's missing a lot of pieces of that puzzle. And originally it was supposed to be Hexen, her brother, who was supposed to be the next keeper. I won't say why he wasn't picked because that hasn't come out in game, but Nia ended up getting picked instead. And Hexen hated it. He was like, it's sort of understandable considering he was like raised from birth to be the next keeper.
How is it selected though?
The last keeper picks them. They assumed it was going to be Hexen because he was the strongest. He was one of the captains in their guard, just like his dad.
Sounds like a them problem. They shouldn't make assumptions because it makes an ass out of you and me. I mean, everybody knows that. Absolutely. They assumed
it was going to be Hexen because he was the strongest one, and they figured the strongest one should get the soul. But Nidus decided, no, he's going to give it to Nia, who was the youngest and arguably the weakest. There were reasons, but like I said, I can't say them.
That's fair.
And Nia never really was able to kind of handle it. She'd only, up until the scales started, transformed once, and it was during the transfer ritual. And the thing that's really terrifying about this ritual is that it kills the last keeper. That dragon soul also contains the collective souls of every keeper that's ever existed. They stay nestled safe with the dragon.
That kind of sucks, because I mean, she's got to do that one day.
She doesn't have it anymore. We'll get to that.
We're getting there. I'm jumping ahead. My bad.
Yeah. No. You are totally fine. So Hexen, when Nia ran away, she ran away after she heard an argument between her father and her brother. Well, her brother basically demanded either their father redo the ritual or Hexen would do it himself. And Nia never really felt like she lived up to any of her father's expectations. She was only really close to her second oldest brother, Savrith. Not the best family situation she came from. Her father raised them more like soldiers than children. So she didn't have a close relationship with her dad. She was very close to her uncle, but she doesn't remember it. So when she ran away, she ran away because she was scared that Hexen was going to try and put her through this ritual and that she wouldn't be able to fight him off. And sadly, she didn't think her father would fight him off.
Right, yeah.
So she ran away. She ended up getting a job on a trades boat as a translator. She specialized mostly in divination magic, so she was really good at casting like spells that helped her like comprehend languages, help other people communicate. And that's where she met Erin, who was kind of assigned as a bodyguard to her because she's like, a tiny little 15-year-old elf, like half elf.
Like
At least
a
they thought she was a
traumatized
half-elf.
15-year-old who needs help.
Well, they were like...
Who run away on top of that.
And also, this is a character with 6 wisdom. She's also kind of very naive. So it started off with we'll keep a big guy with our new recruit to make sure she doesn't get robbed or kidnapped or attacked by things that might attack the ship. And they were about the same age. But he was a Goliath, so, they thought he was a lot older and a lot, I guess, more capable. He lied
about his age to get the job. Or
yeah. Oh, and I don't think they really care. He's a fucking 8-foot tall, like, muscular dude. I don't think they care about his age at that point.
But he's got, like a Power Rangers backpack, and he's got a Pokemon Game Boy. He's like, I'm 20. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. So... Nia ended up getting really close with Erin over like 5 years. They ended up stopping working at that trades company and just traveled around making money where they could. And then Erin disappeared. So that's Nia's entire like plot hook, is that she's looking for Erin. So while we were at these divination pools, we know where that Erin is wherever Kinora is. So we were going to try and find Kinora. And then I got hit with a bunch of crossbow bolts, and my brother steps out of this invisibility, and he's like, Nia Arian, you have been tried for treason, and theft, and murder, and in your absence, we found you guilty. And she's just like, what the fuck? What? I didn't do anything.
Typical sibling shit,
Yeah, well, she's like, I didn't do anything. And that's when the worst thing that Nia, I think, has ever heard came out. Sloane, a little bit about Sloane is that Sloane was a raider, and she does not remember her last raid. She knows something bad happened, and then she woke up on a riverbank, and that's when she met Auric. Sloane's last raid was Nia's village, and she killed everyone, including Nia's brother, Savrith, the one she was very close with.
Question. Did the player for Sloane work with you on this? Or did Nova just decide, yeah, we're going to put them against each other?
The player knew, I did not.
Ooh, okay, all right.
Yeah, but then again, Nova's a really good DM in the fact that he gives us warnings beforehand, right? Like, he gave me specifically a warning before this session because he knew that it was going to get very tense and that yelling might happen, and he knows that can be for me. So Nova's really good at making sure we're all okay. We also have in-stream tells if we're not okay and we need to take a break. So we do, just for the record, have a system in place to make sure all of our players are okay and we're not, freaking out. Sloane knew the name of the village. Our Shannon, Sloane's player, knew the name of the village. The village was called Veklarung. I don't think she knew that was my village until I said it in game, that I was from a place called Veklarung. So she knew. I didn't. And it was... Nia didn't believe it at first. That was a fairly intense session that was actually technically leading up to me being gone for the next week. Nia ended up turning into a dragon, and she has 2 different forms of this dragon. One's the one I get to control as the player, and one of them is out of my control. I turned into the one that was out of my control, which is an 11-foot tall silver dragon. Well, half dragon. The stats are... Nova wrote the stats. Comes complete with a breath weapon that does a metric fuck ton of damage, but does give me levels of exhaustion for using it. So it's kind of risky to use.
I think he just wants to really torture you and then kill you. It just sounds like everything is just let's just give you a few powers. They're not that great, but they're really powerful, and then they're just going to traumatize you, make you almost die.
I don't know, anything that
dead.
lets me get to do 13 d8 of damage, I think is worth the level of exhaustion I make.
Control it though, so it's like, hit your friends, yeah, and also you're exhausted, and just let me get that arm from you. Thanks.
I'm gonna clarify. I do get to that breath weapon for the one I control, and I do have a save to make for the exhaustion.
Okay,
I have to make a con save, so that was. I didn't clarify that. I do have to make a con save.
That's a bit more fair. I could get behind that.
Yeah. I have to make a con save in order to not get these levels of exhaustion, and they technically don't kick in until after I transform back. So the way the dragon is supposed to work is it's supposed to be like you're backed into a corner, you're hurt, you're dying, instinct. That's at least how I wanted to play it. Anyway, Nia turned into that thing, and the two versions that they have. The one I get to control doesn't have wings, so I can't fly. It's just a big, tall lizard person that can breathe ice. The one that I don't get to control has wings and a flight speed that's very fast. So she busted through the roof and flew away and got kidnapped by the Cult of the Dragons in the process. There's, the green head of Tiamat's flying around. If they see another dragon in a world where there hasn't been dragons in like hundreds of years, they're going to take interest in it, to be fair. Part of that was also writing me out for the next session because I was going on vacation that next week, and they didn't want to just have me. They didn't just want to have me like quiet little Nia's nursing her wounds in the background. Because that event was going to happen regardless. It was just what was going to happen afterwards had to kind of change. So that happened. And that's also how Nia lost her arm. Because Nia was taken back to the cultist base. Kinora is a part of the Cult of the Dragons. And her arm was severed and given to Hexen because he had made a deal with Kinora that Kinora could keep Nia if Kinora gave him the power. And so Hexen is apparently now walking around with a dragon's arm, claiming that he took it back from his sister, who he assumes to be dead. She's not dead. She's close to being dead. She got really fluffed up. Like, Kinora and her fucked up experiments. Mm-hmm. She got fluffed up. They found out actually very recently that Nia has runes written on her bones, like etched onto her bones, that make it to where healing spells hurt her. There is a way to fix it.
I remember you talking about this before.
Yeah.
And I'm I really think that. Did Nova talk to Felix about what Kinora's
Yes, actually, he was in contact with.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this was something
this definitely does seem like Kinora stuff, but I also feel like Nova's just sadistic. Just what have we not done to be fair, this Nia girl?
I want to say that I, as a player, love seeing my characters go through shit. And so everything that's been done to Nia, because I just want this out there, was done with my player consent. I was approached and I said, hell yeah, let's fucking do it. This was not anything sprung on me. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. But I was not in the dark that shit could happen. There were a few things that I didn't expect, like the rune thing, but I'm okay with it because it made sense. Because the entire point of putting the runes on Nia's bones was a safety measure. If they got Nia out and they tried to help her, they would kill her instead. So it made sense if you're trying to guard secrets, put a failsafe. Like when they found Nia, there was a trap aimed at her. Like there was a crossbow bolt mounted to the wall on a pressure plate, attached to a pressure plate, that if Nia got off the table she was strapped to, that crossbow would go off and hit her. And she had so little hit points, it probably would have killed her. So it made sense in the grander scheme of things why they would put this failsafe in place. But this is also why Nia's on vacation for a little while. She's off hanging out with a new surrogate dad, Tamel, while she's trying to recover because she physically cannot be magically healed. She needs to heal naturally for what's happened to her. But yeah, Nova's a brutal DM, but he's a really fun DM for me to play with.
Yeah, by the way, I hope this doesn't come off as an attack on Nova. I'm not trying to suggest that he's like an actual bastard. I just mean that like he loves to really crank up the grim darkness of it, it seems like.
Absolutely.
And it seems like everybody's on board for that, so that's good.
That's just Nova's campaigns. Nova is a bad DM trademark. Like, he is scary DM. He will make you suffer. But it's all with player consent. He will not do something if you say you're not okay with it.
So one last question. With Nia's like ruined like bones or whatever. I'm about to sneeze. Hold on. Or not. Maybe I'm alright. Okay. Does like negative energy or necrotic energy heal her?
No.
Just nothing.
Nothing.
Just
nothing.
screwed.
There is a way to fix it. And that's part of the party's objective right now, is that because Tamel, the man who's looking after her, is a runesmith who could like cancel out these runes, but he needs a really skilled surgeon to work with him so he doesn't, kill her. So that's part of the party's objective, is to find a surgeon for Nia.
Is it the entire skeleton, or is it just...
No, it's like I think when they did it, it's like on her ribs and like on her collarbone.
I see.
Yeah, because when they found her,
it's like a ley line
like
type of situation.
Yeah, well, when they found her, she had like what looked like a stitched up Y incision on her torso.
Okay.
And a lot of strange incisions on her remaining arm. So it seems to be like torso arm where these runes are.
Kenora didn't give her a crocodile arm? That didn't happen?
I mean, we found Nia like 2 days after she was kidnapped, so we don't know if that was maybe what she was planning, and maybe we intercepted that. I don't know. I think Kenora was a bit too occupied with sips in our world.
But man, that sounds like a very fun and intense time.
Absolutely. Like I said, we don't have combat often, but when we do, it means something. And it's really dangerous.
Yeah. We've been playing, I'm in a stream game as well on Mondays called Antumbra, Echoes of the Eclipse, with Eldritch Sugar, Cheeky, Dieter, and a few others. And it's like, we had a session yesterday, and it was one of the best sessions of D&D I've ever had.
Ooh,
and I'm still like in the afterglow of it, like...
when you have a good session... When you like just that feeling of coming out of just when a session leaves you thinking about it for days afterwards, it's a good session.
We had like an after talk on like Discord, and we had to stop ourselves because we're like, if we keep talking, we're going to reveal stuff about a character that like we want to reveal in game. Like, we don't want to talk too much about this. We need to stop ourselves before we go too far. But man, it was so good. And so like I'm starting to. And all it was, we didn't do any plot relevant stuff. Cheeky just sat back while we just like did inter party stuff. Like,
yes.
So what happened just this past session? I play a character named Ra, who is a fire genasi. She's a pirate.
It's a good name for a fire genasi. I like that.
Yeah, she's pretty sweet, and she wants to be like, she's got ambitions to be like a big shot pirate. She's also kind of like hot-headed naturally, as being an Ifriti genasi, and like she met a warforged bard that was like picked up as salvage from like the ocean floor that she like revived and like made away with, like stole, essentially pirated. And they've been like a pair. Like, she's like the captain, he's like the quartermaster, and they're gonna start a new crew and all this stuff. And so they've been like kind of best friends. And there's another character, another person just happened to play a pirate. They are more kind of akin to like Princess Bride. Think like Wesley is like Dread Pirate Roberts type of situation. But he's like very reckless, kind of almost throwing his life away for like we're still trying to figure him out. He's like a very interesting character. But like he and Flotsam, the Warforged, we went into this like seaside cave. We found the ship. They went to go grab the ship. We're fighting all these like undead bandits in this cove, and like we all exit while they take the ship out of the cove. Flotsam went to 0 during the battle. I didn't see this as Ra. But what Viridian, the pirate, decided to do as he was coming around, and we had water walk, so we were going to go meet him out on the open water. He decided to tie Flotsam to the bow of the ship as like a centerpiece, like a mermaid or something. Because that's what you do with your friends who are unconscious. So, in the pirate world, them's are fighting words. Like, that's not a joke. That's not a, haha, look what I did. That's a, oh, so it's going to be like that. And Viridian has done some other shit to, like, really get the party to not like him very much, which I can't wait till we develop that further to see why all that was going on.
So is Viridian an NPC or a player character?
He's a player.
Okay.
So, he brings the ship around, and we all get onto the deck of the ship. And I asked him twice. I'm like, do you actually do this, or are you just joking around? He's like, I said what I said. I was like, okay. I get up on the ship. I drop off my stuff. I run up and immediately attack you. And everyone's like, whoa, PvP, and that's where the session ended. And we had like 2 weeks of a break where we're like, there's this tension, like, what's gonna happen? But like, and I thought, am I making the wrong move? But I'm like, no, I'm not. No, he crossed the line, and my character would definitely do this. And I even like wrote a little bit too, because I was like, I'm gonna have to explain my actions, and Shane can't do it immediately, but Ra would know immediately what to say. And so like,
you
I
wrote
prepared
yourself out like a little bit of dialogue,
a little blurb, yeah, to kind of
I've
explain it. And then we just yesterday we did the battle where the dice gods just hated me, but it was okay because they revived Flotsam, and Flotsam, I mean, his player basically told me that week, like, hey, once Flotsam survives, if he sees Ra fighting Viridian, it's on site. He's backing you up 100%. I was like, hell yeah. So even though Viridian is this crazy multi-class that hits for a hell of a lot of damage, he hit me. We're like level 5.
Ooh.
His first hit me for 17. His second hit was a crit, hit me for 23. Now, I have a lot of health, but even that hurt.
I play a lot of like low HP characters, so that's just like, I'm like, that's my entire hit points.
And I was missing, and when I did hit, it was always minimum damage, and he was raging, so he was taking half of that, and I'm like, cool. Thanks, gods. But
you didn't sacrifice enough D20s. You have to sacrifice a D20 before every D&D game. That's just how it works.
Evidently, I wasn't on my game, I guess. But like, the cool thing about having an awesome crewmate is that you depend on each other. It's something that Viridian doesn't have. It's something he needs to learn to appreciate. So even though I was just kind of tanking and taking the blows and taking the brunt of the aggro, Flotsam cast Distant Whispers, which dealt psychic damage. Viridian has low wisdom, failed to save, and almost ran off the boat. Like, almost fell into the water, but it was deemed dangerous, so he didn't. So that's why, like, he got right up to the edge. And then we went to, like, knock him out, and even then I couldn't do it all the way. And, like, eventually our paladin, Silas, he's like a big tabaxi, like lion-like tabaxi, just said, all right, that's enough. Walked up, slugged Viridian in the face. Viridian's a half orc and has relentless. Gets back up with one hit point, and thinks like it's over. He goes, nuh-uh, reckless attack or extra attack because we're level 5, and we're like, oh, and then hits him again and just takes him down. So 1-2 punch takes him down. Turns around to me and he's like, you better sit down. I was like, I'm at 11 hit points. Like, yeah, I'll do that. Oh god, it was. And that was just the beginning. After that, it was just nothing but role play and just the aftermath of that situation. It was so good. Party
strife is one of my favorite things in D&D. I love seeing the party have conflict because if that conflict can be resolved, it builds really strong party bonds. I just got over this. It's been talked about on Twitter already. I'm just going to say it. Joe was running a small game for me, Davy, Yarrow, and Kemi. And we had some player strife because we kind of went into this. This was like a 6-session game, so it was really small. but we had some like really good player strife. I want to say like 2 or 3 sessions ago, where we all realized we're all working against each other. My character specifically, I was playing this really fiery swashbuckling rogue named Alaylor. And she's
Pirates.
just yes. Swashbuckler has become my favorite rogue subclass. Like purely because fancy footwork is awesome, and rakish audacity is one of the best things ever in D&D. I love being able to 1v1 with a sneak attack. So Alaylor she's very like fiery, and she's a spitfire. She's very independent. She doesn't like relying on people, and she had reasons for not wanting to rely on people. But we realized while we were going through went through like a dungeon hotel. It's hard to explain what we went through, but we found out that this weird dungeon with a bunch of maids and butlers that were undead was a hotel. It was all meant to be a trial for like what we're in, but it's.
Oh, okay.
It was,
I was thinking of like, you ever play Mario Sunshine with Serena Beach and like the Boo Hotel?
I've never played. I've only ever played the original Mario, because I didn't have a console. I didn't have a console to play it on.
People listening to this, we have our cams on, and I'm just shocked. I'm doing the Home Alone face right now, like, I can't believe this.
I only ever had a PS2 growing up, and I only had whatever games my brother had growing up. And he mainly played games like God of War, Shadow of the Colossus, and JRPG games.
Those are good, actually.
Yeah, they're good.
Like it's not like you didn't get to play good ones.
I got to play good games. I just never really got into games like Pokemon or Mario because I just didn't have systems that played them, or I didn't have the games growing up. I remember vaguely playing Donkey Kong Country on the N64 way back in the day. But that was when I was like...
I think that's the SNES, so that's even further back than the 64. That's another generation behind.
You're right. No, that was... Yeah. I was a little babby when I did that. Yeah, so... I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble for getting that wrong. That console wrong.
You're about to get a lot of heat online.
Okay.
If not that, just a lot of concern. Like, do you need to talk to someone about how you've never played Mario? Like, all your fans are like, you could have my Mario game.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a fan of platformers. I'm just not. They're not my favorite kind of games. I can handle platforming elements in games, but I'm just not a big fan of platformers. So I think I can go on with my life, because I did play the original Mario at one point and I beat it and it was okay. It never was one of those games. But you haven't tried my mom's
platformer. Now that's a really I was gonna say Sunshine's good because you get the water pack, so it's like the stuff I hate about Mario platforming is mitigated by the fact that I could just hover around. So it's like I can correct if I made a bad jump. I'll be like, we'll go this way. There we go, land. We were talking about something before the Mario thing, though.
What were we talking about?
I could stop the recording and listen back, but I'm not going to cheat.
No. I can. Words are difficult. This is skills buff stuff.
I think, or it might have been after. We were talking about. No, it was with Joe Cat. It was with the party stuff.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so Alaylor is like. She's been hearing like a fucking weird voice from a guy we killed in her head. Like we killed the big bad Rackmorn, right? I should not be crunching a bottle right next to the mic.
It's okay, don't worry about it.
We had we prematurely killed the big bad, so Joe had to kind of improvise. So I'd been hearing Rackmorn in my head, right? And I saw his reflection in a dagger, like that I took from him when I killed him, right? And he was like, it was spooking her. It was like, okay, no, he's not here, but I hear him and I see him and she's low intelligence, so she doesn't get what's going on. But she doesn't want to, she's too prideful to show that she's like kind of freaking out. And it finally like came up with Midnight, Cammy's character being like, you are not fine. Stop saying you're fine. This isn't fine. And it came out in like a really nice party moment where we're all like, listen, we need to stop trying to do everything by ourselves. We need to stop going off alone. We need to stop undermining other people. We're not going to get off this island if we don't work together. And it was a really nice character moment for such a short session, like a short game, that we developed a party bond. And like to like the point where we've ended the game and we're like, we're gonna come back to the Golden K and make sure it's okay, because we wanted to protect it by the time we'd been through everything we were through.
I live for those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Just with parties that are dysfunctional and then they find their groove or their rhythm.
Ground.
Like, I mean, that's part of actually like with my animated series is like, it's very dysfunctional. They do not get along and things get worse. They do not get better right away, if they get better at all. I don't want to spoil exactly where it goes, but it's like there are moments where they do like come together, where they figure out like, okay, we're stuck in Barovia. We have to work together. I don't have to like you, but I will not undermine you anymore, or I'll not like go off on my own and do my own thing. Yeah.
We had a very I love when those party bonds get challenged. We had something in Tomb of Annihilation. I play Tomb of Annihilation on Thursdays with the private group. Told stories from it before. I'm planning actually to tell a series of my Tomb of Annihilation game, because this is one of the best games I've ever played. We're like,
hell yeah,
over a year in. We're almost done. We're like,
this is not the Adventurers League Tomb of Annihilation.
No. This is my friend Ben. He not that Ben, a different Ben.
Wait,
before anybody asks, no, I'm not talking about Puffin. Jesus, the amount of times I get asked that in my chat when I'm streaming and I mention Ben, I'm just putting it out here now. It's not Puffin. Ben, he's been running this for like a little over a year. He's one of the best DMs I've ever had. He took a character that was actually from one of my D&D horror stories, the Warlock that got nerfed story.
Mm-hmm.
That character Arrow is now my Circle of Shepherds Druid in Tomb of Annihilation. And he took a character, the story was kind of bullshitted and ripped apart by one DM, and gave her an amazing arc. We're actually, I think in the next session we're having this week, are about to enter a really important plot point for her. But we recently just went through a really big party tragedy. We have survived this entire campaign without losing anyone, but a character just perma-died.
Oh, baby's first death.
No.
Yay.
No, here's the worst part. Arrow is Druid mom. She is the mom of this party. She's very overprotective, and especially over our life cleric, Beck. He's like barely 19. He's still a baby to her. And he reminds her a lot of her own son. Beck's the one who died. And it challenged our party a lot, because Beck died and our paladin, Marjolein, got teleported away and we don't know where she is. And this is in the Tomb of the Nine Gods. Anything can happen in here. There are death traps everywhere. There is a death trap that specifically scatters you across the multiverse in this tomb. So, anyway, so our paladin, Marjolein, who Arrow was also very close with, we don't know where she is. And there was a lot of guilt on Arrow's part, because when we found the trap that killed Beck, it was trying to find Marjolein. We used a scroll of locate object to try and find Marjolein's locket, because if we find that locket, we'll find Marjolein. Divination magic, it's really fucky in the tomb. And it led us to that trap instead. And so we had it was me, Arrow, the Shepherd's Druid, our skink barbarian, Zal, and our half-elf rogue ranger, Tea Leaf. And that was like, it was a moment that genuinely challenged us as a party. And we're also kind of traveling with a lich. We entered this tomb with a lich named Valandra Shadowmantle, who is the biggest fucking bitch in this entire game. Arrow and her have been consistently butting heads. But Valandra...
This lich is, like, allied with your party, though?
She wants to stop the death curse. The death curse is killing her.
Whoa, wait a minute. So, all I know about this module is that there is a very powerful lich named Acerak. He's actually, if anyone wants to know, he's the dude that's on the Dungeon Master's guide that's sucking the life out of that guy. Like, that's Acerak. He's like also one of the oldest lich.
He's also one of the oldest, like, villain just in D&D. Tomb of Annihilation is kind of a callback, not a redo, of second edition's Tomb of Horrors.
Tomb of Horrors, right.
Yeah,
and it's different, but there are some they carried over some mainstays from Tomb of Horrors, and
the meat grinder.
Like, I guess what I'm curious about is, like, how is Acerak not affected by the death curse, but this other lich is, if they're both liches? That's what I'm curious about.
That's what we don't know. I have a personal theory that I've built off of one of Puffin Forest's theories. No, this wasn't Puffin. This was Runesmith. Sorry. One of Runesmith's theories, and is that he has so many souls that sustain him, because I subscribe to the theory that the tomb is his phylactery. So all adventurers that die in this tomb feed his phylactery.
Yeah, I think that's. I think I heard something about that.
I also kind of think this guy created or found or activated the thing that is causing this curse. I'm sure he could figure out a clause that would keep him from being affected by it. Something I genuinely don't know, and until I finish the module, I don't plan to look up because I don't want spoilers. But what we do know is that Valandra wants to stop the death curse because she's dying. She has it. I also now have the death curse because I died. At some point, I got assassinated with a assassinate auto crit, and with the way we roll crits in this game is that we max out the first dice. And then there was poison damage on top of that. That was nasty. It more than doubled my health. I was instantly dead. Beck was alive though, so he was able to revivify me, but I had the death curse.
So the death curse, for those who don't know, what does that mechanically do?
You lose 1 hit point every day. One maximum hit point every day. Which is good that it happened later in game. I am currently, I think I'm sitting at 53, but we just leveled up too.
So if you level up faster than you gotta level up fast to keep up with the death curse and somehow stop it before you go down to 0, essentially.
Yeah. The good thing is that in the tomb, there isn't a lot of what feels like a long time in the tomb isn't really a long time in game. We've been in the tomb for about a day so far, and we've gone through 3 levels. There are 5.
Yeah, so, I bet it. Yeah, it's dungeon crawls. Well, they're crawls, so it feels longer than it is. That makes it.
Sense. And we found a space where we could rest, where Withers, the caretaker of the tomb, can't see us and send people after us. So we were able to get a rest in. And we've leveled up while we're in the tomb. So it's not as bad. It's more terrifying for the long-term connotations, at least in Arrow's story specifically, because Arrow just figured Arrow's story is long and convoluted, but she had a lot of issues with she left her son behind in her the country she's from because she was scared to take him with her. She was from a cult. She was scared to try and take her son away from that cult, or that cult might hurt her and him as punishment. She wanted to get her husband out too, but he's the high priest of that cult, and she didn't know how to reach him. She has since figured something out. We had an event called the Blood Moon that happened, that we had a really intense, like, character role play. I think that's like the most intense I've ever gotten in a role play. Can I
ask what your blood moon was?
Our blood moon was so we'd known this was going to happen for a while. And we just didn't know when. Until we talked to, like, the wise snake lady. She gave us a time. We had just finished dealing with a bunch of pirates. We killed a pirate captain who was actually who Marioline was after. And as we had a day to celebrate, and then as night falls, we see this blood red moon rising. And as it hits its peak, the water goes unnaturally still, like a glass top, and then starts to ripple as a gigantic island rises up. I think I have a picture of it that I'll show you. Just 1 second. I'm pretty sure it's pinned, actually, because Ben is awesome like that. There it is. I'll send this to you on Discord.
Okay.
Because I did a little illustration of it. I could not get this image out of my head when I first...
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. Just this unnatural island rises up, and a boatman, a ferryman, comes. It's a fucking Marinoloth. Comes and calls for me by name in Abyssal. I'm the only person who speaks Abyssal. And he says, Mistress Alma, your husband is waiting for you. Arrow's original name was Alma. And so Arrow puts her cultist robes back on. She's kept those this entire fucking time. She kept her vestments. She puts them back on, hides her armor under it, puts her wedding band back on, and she's ready. The entire time we thought we were going to do this is that we thought that her son was also going to be there, and Arrow was determined to keep her kids safe in a jungle as dangerous as Chult. And what ended up happening was we found out that her husband had made a deal with an Arcanoloth. He had hired an Arcanoloth to find his wife. And that's why we'd been seeing scrying orbs around Arrow whenever we cast Detect Magic, and why we had to be careful when we saw them, because we didn't want them to know that we didn't want our husband to know that we were going to try and trick him. Because how this all happened was that I sent him a sending message. I had a scroll of sending, and I sent him a sending message that was basically like, you're right, I've been blind. Forsaking the church was a mistake. Please come find me in Chult. I want to go home. Because we thought he was in Chult with our son, wandering through this really dangerous jungle where even the plants will kill you. Like, they'll reach out and strangle you, will kill you. And her son's like 10. So she was really worried about that. Her son was there. Sort of. Her husband was there. There was an Arcanoloth there. There were a bunch of Mesoloths. And there were a bunch of cultists. Combat happened after some roleplay in which Ben completely broke my heart by having this little boy. So her son's name is Aramis. He has a little squirrel plushie that Arrow made for him when he was a baby that he still carries around. And he's still holding it. And he's like, Mom, why did you leave? Why did you leave? Did I do something bad? I didn't mean to. Please come home. It was just like absolutely heartbreaking. Turns out that's not my son. That's a fucking doppelganger. That's not my kid. God, that was like a moment where Arrow was ready to kill her husband for having the nerve to pull that on her. And the fight was intense. The Arcanoloth decided to go back on his deal because that's what Yugoloths do. He summoned a Nikoloth. It got really, really, really scary. They were trying to drag me into a portal to the Hells. Well, I guess technically Gehenna, because...
Yeah, just the neutral evil place, wherever that is.
Yeah, well, they were trying to drag me there because the price for hiring this Arcanoloth was giving information on an entity called Mr., who is actually the inverse of Mystra, the god of magic.
Oh.
Mystra is the goddess of lawful magic. Mr. is an agent of magical chaos.
So and like he's Mr. Wild Magic, essentially.
Yeah, Mr. is an entity I've been seeing for a while. He's responsible for a plague in the world called the Taint. It is this purple substance that I know. Don't do it.
I couldn't help it. I'm like, oh,
Don't do it. This is why I normally call it the tainted or a tainted miasma.
The miasma sounds cool. Kind of reminds me of like a Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicle.
Yeah.
You probably didn't play that, did you?
I'm pretty sure I watched my sister play that one.
Okay. Yeah, that one's got that whole like miasma that's over and you have to use the chalice to like move from place to place.
Yeah. So, this is a plague. Nobody really knows what it does, except if you touch it, bad shit happens to you and you normally end up dead. They don't really understand the effects of it because it is essentially corrupted magic. You can't really test that. But it's very prevalent in certain parts of the world, including where I'm from. I'm from a place called the Fields of Sorrow, which is a war-torn land between the Heiligard and the Isles of, and the Holy Isles. This is a place used as a battleground that is now mostly full of desperate tieflings and cultists. So I'd been seeing Mister for a while. And we figured out that the reason why I've been seeing him is that Arrow's an Aasimar. She's a fallen Aasimar. And we figured out that Mister was the person who claimed her, not the god, not the cult she was in was the cult of Bane. It wasn't Bane that touched her. It was Mister. And that's why it happened when she was There's a point in her backstory where she had a son before Aramis who died when he was like 6 months old of disease. And she was sent to a different branch of their church so that she could be counseled. And this branch bordered a very large field of this miasma. And Mister is, he took interest in this unclaimed celestial that had been, brought close to him. So he decided to do a little experiment. Apparently my character's husband has also been seeing him, and my son has also been seeing him.
One big happy family.
Yeah, Mister is just that creepy uncle that comes around.
Hey, kids. It's me, Mister. Have a lollipop. You give it, you're like, stay away from my son. Nah, we gotta talk business. We gotta talk shop. I need you two lovebirds to come this way. It's like, we can't escape.
I have a picture of Mister if you want to see him. Here he is.
Very much so. Let's see. Oh, he's even more slimy than I realized.
He is horrifying, okay? He's terrifying, but the price of hiring this Yugoloth was giving information about Mister. And Arrow was like, I know who Mister is. And we had gotten a prophecy earlier in the campaign that was, beware of the man in the jacket of purple, the one who deals schemes and spreads chaos. Born of a murder, one of a half, the weave is shattered. Beware of Mister.
Sounds like a cool guy.
He terrifies me. I'm in 2 games where he shows up because I'm in 2 games with Ben, and he's like a constant entity in Ben's world. And it's really fun seeing him fuck with a different player that's not me. But anyway, I went on a huge sidetrack.
Hey, no worries. For me, this is great because I don't have to talk as much. And I always worry that I talk too much when I have guests on. And also, your channel is you telling stories, so I got to have a little bit of Wystle while you work on my channel, so that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I think we're running an hour and a half now, so I think we'll probably start wrapping it up.
I'll save the rest of that story for something on my channel. If you want to come hear the rest, just come over there. That's
a perfect segue. Why don't you tell people where they can find you? You
can find me on YouTube at Wystle While You Work. You can find me on Twitch at Wystle While You Work, and I play every Friday at 9:30 p.m. EST, or EDT rather, because daylight savings ended, on the Roll4Damage channel, where I play either I'll play a half-elven sorcerer warlock named Nia Arian, or I play a circle of shepherds druid shaman named Rydia Silvafawn. It's a lot of fun. It's a really fun story. Really great cast. We have a really cool community. A lot of ways that the audience can interact. You can give us boosters. You can influence the story a little bit. It's pretty fun.
Heck yes. Please go check out Shelby on her channels. I will also have the links down below. Shelby, thanks for coming by. Oh, and don't forget, everybody, Bards4Bards is this month. We got a lot of cool stuff happening. Very big event. Lots of fun people that you know and love are going to be participating. So please keep your eyes peeled for that.
Yeah. I think as of recording, our next stream is tomorrow, and then we have a one shot this Saturday between Dingo Doodles, Puffin Forest, Felix, and Zibeshu.
The Amen. I don't know if I'll be able to get this out by today, but I could probably get this out by tomorrow. Don't hold me to that, but I'll try.
Nah. Don't you stress if it's not out by then. Check out the VOD. The VOD will be available on the Bards4Bards Twitch.
No, there we go. Anyway, thanks for coming by, and I hope to have you on again sometime in the future.
Of course. I'll have to bring you over on my channel to tell a story sometime.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.